There was a moment in history when people were so hungry, so desperate, that they began doing the unthinkable just to survive. This is not fiction, this is not mythology. This is recorded in 2 Kings 6. A city under siege, no food, no hope, no way out. And what happened next reveals something terrifying about human nature. Because when life corners you, when you feel surrounded, when the pressure is unbearable, most people make 3 fatal mistakes. And these mistakes don't just destroy cities, they destroy faith, they destroy peace, they destroy destiny. Tonight, on 3 Biblical Dots, we uncover the 3 errors we commit when we are under siege. And if you've ever felt trapped, overwhelmed, or abandoned, stay until the end, because the way this story ends changes everything.
Samaria was surrounded. The Aramean army had cut off all supplies, no trade, no escape, no mercy. Food became so scarce that people were paying fortunes for scraps. Desperation escalated into horror. The Bible describes acts so disturbing that they almost feel unreal. But here's the thing. The siege wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Fear, confusion, silence from heaven. And maybe that's why this story still feels relevant today. Because many of us are not surrounded by armies, but we are surrounded by debt, anxiety, illness, failure, loneliness. And when that happens, we enter our own siege. And that's when the 3 mistakes begin.
First dot, we blame God. In 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 33, the king says, "Why should I wait for the Lord any longer?" Translation, this is God's fault. When pressure rises, blame rises faster. And notice something chilling. The king didn't deny God existed. He believed in God. He just blamed him. And even today, the pattern is the same. When things fall apart, people say, if God is real, why is this happening? Or, where is God now? Even those who don't believe still ask the question, because deep down, when suffering hits, we want someone to blame. But here's the psychological trap. Blame gives temporary relief. It makes you feel like a victim of something bigger, but it removes responsibility. It removes agency. It removes hope. And when you blame God, you stop looking for solutions. You stop listening. You stop trusting. In a siege, blaming feels natural, but it may be the first step toward collapse. 3 Biblical Dots. The first mistake under siege is blame.
Second dot, we forget what God has done. Here's what makes the king's reaction shocking. He had already seen miracles. In 1 Kings 6, 9 through 10, God repeatedly saved Israel by revealing enemy plans. The king had evidence, proof, history, and yet, under pressure, he forgot. Isn't that terrifyingly human? Memory shrinks when fear grows. When you're overwhelmed, you don't remember past victories, you remember present pain. Psychologically, crisis narrows perception. Spiritually, it narrows faith. And here's the deeper layer. When you forget what has already happened for you, you begin to doubt what can still happen. Gratitude disappears, perspective disappears, confidence disappears. That's why in every siege, personal, emotional, financial, forgetting is fatal. Not because the past saves you, but because it reminds you survival is possible. 3 Biblical Dots. The second mistake under siege is forgetting.
Third dot, we doubt the promise. Now comes the most dangerous one. In 2 Kings 7:1, the prophet Elisha makes an outrageous prediction. By this time tomorrow, food will be abundant. In the middle of starvation, in the middle of impossibility. And an officer responds in 7:2, "Even if the Lord should open the floodgates of heaven, could this happen?" That sentence sounds logical, rational, reasonable, but it was fatal. Because the prophecy was fulfilled, the abundance came, but the officer did not live to enjoy it. He saw it, but he didn't experience it. Why? Because doubt doesn't just question possibility, it closes the door to participation. And here's the haunting truth. When the noise is loud, doubt feels intelligent, fear feels realistic, hope feels naive. Under siege, the noise is constant. What if it never changes? What if this is the end? What if there's no way out? And slowly, blame turns into forgetfulness. Forgetfulness turns into doubt, and doubt turns into disconnection. 3 biblical dots: blame, forget, doubt.
But the story doesn't end there. Here's where it gets almost cinematic. In 2 Kings 7:6-7, God causes the enemy army to hear a sound. The sound of chariots, horses, a massive approaching force. But there was no army, just a sound. And the enemy panicked. They fled. They abandoned everything. Food, supplies, wealth, all because of noise. Now think carefully. The enemy ran because of a sound. And earlier, the people inside the city were collapsing because of a sound. The sound of fear, the sound of despair, the sound of doubt. Same battlefield, different reactions to noise. This is where it becomes deeply psychological. Sometimes the siege is not broken by force, it is broken by perception. The enemy believed something bigger was coming, and they ran. What if your siege ends not when circumstances change, but what you choose to listen to changes? 3 biblical dots. When life surrounds you, you can blame, forget, dismiss the promise, or you can fight those impulses. Even if you don't believe in Scripture, this pattern is observable in human behavior. Under stress, people blame external forces. People forget previous resilience. People assume worst-case scenarios. And those 3 reactions trap them in the siege longer. But those who break through, they refuse to stay in blame. They remember past survival. They remain open to possibility. Faith in this story is not blind optimism. It is resistance against mental collapse. Maybe you're in a siege right now. Maybe it feels silent. Maybe it feels unfair. Maybe it feels endless. But what if the sound that scares you is the same kind of sound that will make your enemy run? What if the breakthrough is already forming and doubt is the only thing keeping you from stepping into it? 3 biblical dots: blame, forgetfulness, doubt. Fight those 3, and you may witness what Samaria witnessed: deliverance in a way no one expected. Because sometimes God doesn't break the siege the way we imagine. He breaks it through a sound we almost ignored. If this message resonated with you, comment below. Which of the 3 dots are you fighting right now? Blame, forgetfulness, doubt? And if you want to explore more stories where ancient texts reveal modern psychological truths, subscribe to 3 biblical dots. Because sometimes the difference between collapse and breakthrough is just 3 dots. Dot, dot, dot.